Okay, so I've tried to film this video now like multiple times. I've tried to film this intro several times, and I wasn't happy with any of them because I just didn't know really what to say. So obviously, all of us are being affected by what's going on in the world right now. The spread of the coronavirus, COVID-19, is terrifying and it's really scary and it's kind of consuming everyone's life right now. And all of us are coping differently with that, and all of us are trying to deal with it differently. All of us are affected by it differently. And my initial goal with this video was to just kind of show you guys some of the things I'm doing to cope with it and something that may be helpful to some of you guys who are stuck inside. But when I was like going over the footage and rewatching it, it felt off somehow. The first couple of times I filmed it, it felt like I wasn't taking everything seriously enough, so I scratched that. And then the more I thought about it, the more I kind of overthought it and kind of got stuck in my head, wondering if, this video is necessary or wondering if this video is even helpful. Because what my goal in this video was to walk you guys through how I find inspiration in really simple things because we're stuck inside. A lot of people can't go outside. A lot of people don't have things like yards or a lot of nature near them and stuff like that. So they're kind of stuck in very samey surroundings day after day. And I wanted to talk to you guys about how to find inspiration even when you're stuck in a situation like that, so you can continue to draw or create or do things that kind of distract you from what's going on in the world. That was my intention because that's what I know how to do to help people, is to give inspiration and to try to help people continue with their craft and continue making things in the effort to have some sort of normalcy in what's going on. So I think the way I want to look at this video right now is I want it to be really clear that I'm not taking what's going on in the world seriously. I'm not acting like everything's fine, so let's just keep drawing. I'm not acting like some people don't have the time or the energy or, the desire to draw right now because they're too stressed out or they're too anxious or they're struggling trying to find work because they've unfortunately lost their jobs, and a lot of what's going on in this country isn't set up to take care of those people. Like, I'm not trying to diminish any of that. I'm just trying to do what I can to help people who want that sort of help and to help people who just need some kind of distraction and need some kind of normalcy right now. So I think that's just kind of how I'm going to go into this. I don't want to get into it too much in terms of my thoughts about what's going on in the world right now because that's not really what this channel is. This channel is meant to be really art-centric, and really in times like this, I think art can be relied on as a distraction, as a way to inspire other people, as a way to help people kind of get through. And so that's what I'm gonna do because it's all I really know how to do right now. I'm not a health professional. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not someone who knows how to give any kind of professional advice about anything. I just know what I know. And right now what I know is that drawing is helping me get through a really, really rough patch. So maybe that's relatable for some of you guys, and maybe this video can be helpful to some of you in that way. So what I want this video to be about is how to find inspiration and how to find ideas, and hopefully to find some sense of normalcy in what is a very abnormal and very, very strange situation. I feel like it's really easy to feel like there's no inspiration when you're stuck inside or when you're stuck in the same environment day after day. So I want to show you guys how I can find just simple things around my house and use them as a jumping off point to create an illustration or a design or a character or something like that. And I'm fortunate in that I have like a backyard space, so I have plants and I have nature and things like that to use as inspiration, but I'm going to only talk about that maybe in one or two of these videos, and then I'm going to try to shy away from that just because I know not everyone has that kind of circumstance and not everyone has access to stuff like that. So I'm really going to try to keep it to things that I have inside my house and show you that you can really find ideas or get ideas for things even when you feel like you can't. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. Yeah, so if that sounds interesting to you guys, go ahead and keep watching, and here we go.
All right, so after looking at a bunch of stuff in my house, I started getting some ideas for a drawing I might want to do. I was really inspired by my spice cabinet and this random corner in my kitchen that has this poster of some cacti illustrations and also a hanging plant that we have. And the reason I was drawn to this was because it made me think of things like shelves or rows of potion bottles or bottles of ingredients. And I also liked the idea of some hanging planters. And it kind of made me think of maybe like a botanical witch or somebody who does a lot of spells or potion making. So that was my first initial idea. And I liked it, but I wasn't totally sure if this is what I wanted to draw. So I set this first sketch aside and started working on a second character. This character was more of like a plant witch based off a plant design herself. And you can see like the hair was kind of based off a cactus shape. And I was going to draw her with like a lot of plants in the background and stuff, as well as holding plants and then also kind of like holding some potion bottles and stuff like this. But I wasn't super happy with this design either. It didn't really feel like what I wanted to work on. So I set this one aside as well. But at this point, I actually started to get an idea for something I really did want to draw. And you can kind of see how like my thought process went here and like my train of thought jumped from one thing to another. But as I was thinking about like bottles of specimens and bottles of like plants and ingredients and stuff, as well as the vintage illustrations in the poster that I have, it really started to remind me of like 19th century explorers and, you know, vintage and old school plant illustrations and people who would go out and study and discover new things. So I came up with the idea to draw this female explorer, and her outfit is really loosely based on kind of like 19th century, maybe Edwardian fashion, because I really like that idea. She reminds me almost a little bit of Jane from the Disney Tarzan movie. And I liked this idea of like an old medical bag and like a journal and like someone dressed up to go kind of exploring through the forest or through the jungle to find new things. So that's kind of where this idea came from. And as I was sketching, I was able to flesh her out a little bit and put her in a jungle setting. And that's kind of where this idea came from. So I think you can kind of see, hopefully, you can kind of see what my train of thought there was, where I took something that was just in my kitchen and it kind of jumped to this other idea completely. If you're someone who struggles with finding inspiration with things like this and can't always necessarily look at something simple and instantly come up with an idea, something that can be really helpful is something like word association or idea or thought association. So, for example, here, I started off with rows of bottles. So, what do you think of when you think of rows of bottles? Do you think of potions? Do you think of spells? Do you think of specimens? So, thinking things like that can kind of help you start to get ideas in your brain that can then eventually turn into another idea that can be the basis of a drawing. And honestly, with a little bit of practice, you can learn to do this with just about anything. It could be a pattern on a rug or a pair of shoes or the shape of a cloud. It's really kind of about training yourself to open your eyes and be very aware of your surroundings and being very aware of things like colors or shapes or patterns, because there are things everywhere in the world that can be used as inspiration, but a lot of the times we're not used to looking for them or we're not used to seeing them because we're so used to these mundane things being around us. So it really takes a little bit of practice, but once you start to do it, I promise you'll start to see things everywhere that you can turn into ideas, and it really does become second nature.
So I hope that was helpful to some of you guys. I actually really like how that character came out. I may end up using her again in the future. I think there might be some potential there for a little character design, so that's fun. If you guys have any ideas for other stuff that you think might make cool inspiration or cool designs, go ahead and leave them down below. Or if you have been doing the same thing and you were able to come up with the designs or illustrations based on stuff in your house, please let me know because that's super awesome. Um, like I said, I don't want to talk too much about what's going on in the world right now because that's really not what this channel is about, but I do want to throw in a quick, just I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves, taking care of your loved ones. It's really scary in the world right now, and it's really okay to be scared by what's going on in the world. But I do want to remind everyone that, there are things that we can do to keep ourselves safe. There are things we can do to help others in times like this. And I think it's just really important to be making sure you're taking care of your own mental health and your own physical health. So it's really important to not be overwhelming yourself with the news and the media right now. So, limiting how much news you're reading every day and making sure it's not consuming your life, making sure you're checking your sources and reading reputable news sources, and also following health guidelines provided by reputable sources, following the CDC and other health agencies and things like that. So just make sure you're washing your hands, make sure you're not touching your face. Please practice social distancing. It is incredibly important in helping flatten the curve so we don't spread the virus even more than it's already been spread. So all of those things are really important. And even though we can't control what's happening in the world, we can't control other people's actions. We can control our own actions. And there are things that we can do to keep ourselves safe and keep other people safe. So please just be careful and just do the best that you can to take care of yourself. Don't hoard groceries. Don't take away resources from people who really need them. Don't put other people at risk. And, we can do the absolute best that we can do to get through the situation that's happening right now. There are a lot of people in this country who are working really hard to keep everyone safe, who are putting themselves out there to help others. And, the Mr. Rogers quote that people say a lot, but is honestly really true: look for the helpers, because there are always good things out there. There are always people out there who are trying to help. And that's something that we can focus on right now in a really uncertain time. So I think that's about it for today. Side note, sorry if during any of this you could hear background noise or my dog moving around. He's right there stretching right now, and he's very big, so he makes a lot of noise when he moves around. But if you like this video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. If you guys want to see more videos like this, please feel free to subscribe down below. That'd be really awesome. Please take care of yourself right now, and until my next video, have a great day. Bye.